there is so much taboo and so much suppression and so much shame and guilt around sex that we make sex very, very narrow. And it's only when the passion rises and then suddenly we're really excited and then we go into the bedroom and we have sex, we have penetrative sex. So I think that this is one of the core reasons. It is that we made sex extremely, extremely narrow rather than letting that permeate every aspect of life. And so if we tune into sex and instead of looking at sex as an act, as something that we do specifically, but more like a frequency, like a certain thing that we tune in. Imagine that we would be in the frequency of sex or erotic energy much more frequently. That when we meet, we are just like breathing together. We are activating erotic fire and so on. That would be like permeating every aspect of life. And it's something that we can cultivate, right? If we are in a tribe with lots of sex positive people, it doesn't mean that we go around, fucking each other and having tons of penetrative sex with each other. It means that sensuality and pleasure is part of the culture, much more. And so when we start diving into that, when we say having sex, for me, I can translate that as having points of connection with the sexual frequency. It doesn't mean a peak experience. It can be a microdosing. It might be just a soft word. It can be a soft touch, something that wakes up a bit of energy, a little bit of breathing, a little bit of orgasmic. It's something that we can do anytime, any day, with anybody. It doesn't have to be a committed relationship. It can be just like, let's breathe together. Let's share. Hey, tell me about, a sexual experience, the latest sexual experience that you had in your life. And then you start describing, and then we have a point of connection with that. Then there might be a little bit of sensual touch. That doesn't mean, again, that we're going to engage in having sex, but it means that it's a frequency. It's a certain vibration. It's like something that we can tune into. And so that's what we mean by having sex, Sex doesn't have to be a peak experience. It doesn't have to be extreme. It can be a microdosing. It can be macrodosing. It can be a practice that we do for an hour, half an hour, or it can be something really, a tiny little point of connection that multiplies itself throughout the day. It can be a sexy text. It can be all of that. What does it look like? So we have so many options, right? We have first presence. And what I want to say is really this. It is that sometimes you feel comfortable with practicing that with anybody. Sometimes it's just unique with your partner. Like, for instance, if I'm in a committed relationship and I engage into very erotic practices, even if there is no penetration, it can feel like betrayal to the relationship. So depending on the boundaries that you are in, it's going to take different forms. We're not saying that, you have to practice that with everybody. But it's a possibility to have an expansion in a field that becomes much vaster. So a few access points that we have. The first one is touch, right? Simply touch. Like, for instance, with putting, pressure on the body and activating and using the breath and using tension in the body, you can start waking up something that looks like an energetic orgasmic energy, right? It already just with that. For instance, if I'm on top of you and I put my hands on your shoulders and start pressing and then invite you to clench and squeeze your vagina, right? And then you are going to start building up energy. There is not going to be any penetration, but we can start rising the fire. The erotic fire is going to be rising. That's one possibility, just through touch or sensual massage. And it can be very soft, but it can be also very intense. It can be a de-armoring experience where, you bring in fire. And I'm pretty sure you had some of those in your life, right? Intense experience that felt really erotic, where there was no kissing, no fluid exchange, no penetration, but just like that, the bonding of two bodies coming together and offering each other energetic resistance, right? So that's one option. Another one is having sex through the mind, right? Connecting through fantasies and voicing the things that you want. For instance, if you and I were lovers and I asked you a question, I just sent you a little text and it sounds something like, what would you do to me right now if you knew that everything is allowed, that you have full permission, that there are no taboos? And then suddenly your mind starts working out. It starts creating the emotions. Maybe you might be self-touching your body. Maybe you are already in this orgasmic state that is being activated. Then we can keep on going. And that's going to create an energetic connection. The mind starts creating the sensations by just reading or by listening to a very sexy voice message, right? Or something that is written. This is why we have such a vast possibility for pleasure. So that's another one. Another one would be through being in front of each other and using just the energetic movement of energy, like for instance breathing together, entering into orgasmic breathing, like the orgasmic breathing. What does that mean? It means that instead of just breathing, it means breathing with the sound, breathing with the energy. And it can start building up. It can be very soft, very gentle. It can be a water feeling, or it can be much more fiery, with accelerating, going really in high speed, speeding up the breathing. And then suddenly, if we do that right now in front of your audience, people would already be like, oh my God, that feels too much. It's almost uncomfortable because precisely we're not used to that. But guess what? It's very natural. Like if you describe to me right now, what does your day look like? But you give me that in an orgasmic voice, right? Making me feel like everything that you're saying is orgasmic. The reason why this is really good, it's not just for play. It's not like we do that because we want to get somewhere. It's like, no, that's a whole range of possible explorations. So I think that penetrative sex represents maybe 10% of what can be shared is the peak experience, right? It's probably maybe one of the most intense experiences that we can have. But if we are very much trained and used to the idea of engaging erotically, sexually with other people in outside of the penetrative sex, then suddenly when penetrative sex comes and we're already super activated, then that feels like a whole new level of explosions of energies. It's like cultivating the erogenous zone, that all of the skin becomes super sensitive, that your pleasure capacity just expands to all sorts of things, eating a mango together and sharing some food, or being naked in the sunshine, or holding each other in the water or in the beach. You do that a lot in Compagnon, right? Being in the waters and hugging in the water and floating each other. And all of that is, sometimes it is sensual, sometimes it's healing, sometimes it can be erotic. Sometimes it moves in that direction. And what I find is the most powerful access point to this is really the breath. It's like focusing on the breathing and focusing on, consciously activating that, because the breath is going to send very clear signals to the brain as well. If I'm breathing and I go like, my brain goes like, oh my God, what's going on? Send up the signals, massive oxytocin blast, boom, boom. It's just like the brain responds to the signals and creates the experience before there is even penetration, right? So there are certain ways of breathing that signal to yourself. Time for pleasure, and it's unmistakable. Training the erotic muscles, it's something that can be practiced. We're not born like this, but then you can, activate them. What would be the journey? Receive a little bit of guidance so that you understand the techniques, so that you can feel them. First, if I do an orgasmic breathing activation over here, it's probably going to be like a 1 hour practice if we want to go through all the full expression of what that means. And so I would say first learn some techniques, and then you have to start practicing either by yourself or with somebody else. It means that discovering your relationship to your own sexual energy is really, really important. If you start breathing in an orgasmic way and then you notice the shame and the guilt, oh my God, I'm not sure, and you contract and then you learn how to expand, eventually it becomes natural. Then next time you are having sex with somebody, then you go like, your voice is liberated. It's much more open. And then the energy circulates. So, I know that when we think about sex and relationships and orgasms and all that, we don't like the idea of discipline, right? We go like, oh, that should just happen, right? It should just be natural. It's an animal instinct. In my experience within tantric sex and conscious sex and so on, it's like the element of discipline is very, very important. It's like train the skills, set up a timer, do like 1 hour of these practices, and you do that consistently for a week, and your pleasure capacity is going to be multiplied. Goes from a 2 out of 10 to a 8 out of 10 within a couple of weeks. And then suddenly you arrive on the dance floor and everybody goes like, oh my God, what's happening to you? You feel so sexy today. What's going on? It's, blossoming. I don't know. It's just happening. No, it's not just happening. You have been, using that as a self-pleasure. And then, of course, then you can bring, the actual touch and self-love. yeah, I feel that this is the thing. The thing that is very important to realize is that sex doesn't start once you start having contact with another human being. There is erotic energy inside of you that you can activate and practice anytime. It's like, for instance, if we come with a group of men, and I bring them over here and we do an erotic activation, there isn't going to be any sexual touch, I'm not gay, I'm not going to engage sexually, but we can start activating energy together. And within half an hour, we are in an erotic trance, right? In solo practices, but as a group, building up the erotic fire. And it's very easy to do. We simply have to trust and move forward in that direction. It means that I have sexual energy moving through me right now, a certain extent. How turned on I am right now, it's maybe a 4 out of 10. It's not super intense. But the more we talk about it, then it starts rising. And then we start circulating and moving. And then suddenly there is more pleasure, there is more sensations, there's more beauty. So we have access to that all the time. It's just like we are, most of the times we're trapped into just practical things, dealing with technology, for instance, right? We're like, I don't have time for pleasure. I have 3 kids. I have to make food. I have to go shopping. I have to make money. And then when do I have time for sex? It's like a quick self-pleasure practice, 10 o'clock at night when you're completely exhausted and tired. You go like, what happens if you would prioritize that? And then you put that at the center of your agenda. In your calendar, you have like 3 hours of self-love or sex or erotic practices every day. It's just like, it builds, it expands your pleasure capacities. So that's the whole idea, to expand into that field. Invite that partner for short, small, chunks of practices, something like that. For instance, if you have been going to a workshop and you discover a couple of techniques that you feel familiar with, that feel really nice, then you will be like, hey, listen, tonight I would love to try something new. Are you open for that? And if the partner is like, no, what do you mean? I don't know. They'll be completely shut down. You have to check if there is some form of sexual compatibility, right? Having the desire for exploration. If I have a lover who comes into my life and says, I would like to try something really kinky, something edgy that I never tried before, but I would be like, oh my God, what a gift, right? It's interesting to explore. So that's the thing that you have to check. Is there a capacity to do something new, to engage into that? And then I think that something that works really well is to have scheduled dates. Have really times that you block where it's time for exploration. It's time for having a sex date, a tantric date, a romantic date, or something where you offer the possibility to explore, right? Like, for instance, in our field, sometimes we use some shibari techniques or maybe bring some sex toys or things simply to expand the field of what's possible. And I think that one of the things that we don't do enough is just giver receiver practices, sessions, things like that. And something else that works really well is to have very conscious, intentional communication, check-ins, like, what did you like? What worked for you, so that we can really keep on expanding and attune to each other. And but basically remove, a lot of, when you go on a date for the first time, right, with somebody new, there is going to be a whole bunch of shields that are present. I call that the sexual shields, or the romantic shields. So you have to take one step at a time. Somebody might be guarded, a man that you meet might be coming out of a relationship with lots of trauma, and he was like, oh my God, who is this woman? What does she want from me, right? And the same the other way around. So usually if I meet something new and I'm feeling really attracted, I start scanning the shields that are present. I go like, oh, here we go. Well, there is a bit of shyness around touch, or there is a guarded, the heart is not open, it's holding back. So it's all about building up and creating the safety one step at a time. Then once we start engaging, and we see where there's a possibility for expansion. And something else that I think is really important is to have emotional, energetic fluidity, flexibility around things. Like, as a man, I don't want to engage and say, okay, well, this is the agenda, this is the plan, this is what. No, it's like attune. It's like, how are you feeling today? So I'm feeling a bit sensitive. Okay, well, let's try something soft then. Instead of, okay, I want high energy penetrative sex tonight. No, it's like we have to be really attuned to each other. It's like a dance, right? The same as with contact dance. We don't engage and be like, okay, I'm going to dominate the dance. No, we have to be like co-creating it. It's way more interesting. My first couple of relationships were not mystical relationships. This is when I was in my 20s, right? And then I had A partner who gave me a book on the Tao of Love, which is like Taoist techniques, right? Practices on holding semen and so on. So that was a beginning. But then I had a partner with who we had been meditating for a long time. So we were connected energetically. And from that place, just like the blossoming of the lovemaking started going to whole new levels of mystical experiences. So at that moment, penetration, we didn't start by that at all. We were like in sensual spaces for like a year or 2 years before penetration became a thing. So that was one of the points of awakening. Another point of awakening was more recently, maybe almost like 20 years ago. I was in the Himalayas in a cave meditating over there. And then the realization came, the word that came was vital sex. What is vital sex? It's energetic sex, right? Energetic sex. And I realized that, sex doesn't depend on a partner. Sex is first an energy that is alive inside of me, erotic fire. So I realized, there is a whole new approach actually where the goal is not necessarily always to share with somebody, but just to have that energy that is activated into the field. So if I can speak to the audience right now, if you check on your energy level, on your sexual level, erotic level, you can always measure how strong is your erotic fire right now between 0 and 10? You might be, maybe I'm a 2. And if you start activating, if you start self-pleasure, where do you go into that scale? So I find that life is way more interesting where we are into the 7, 8, or 9 range where the erotic fire is activated. It's not an effort. It's just something that is alive. Like sometimes I see somebody, dancing and I go like, oh my God, there is so much fire coming out of you. And it feels sexy, it feels erotic, it feels engaging. And then usually, for most people, there is going to be like this sexual conditioning that holds you into this matrix, like, shame and guilt. And this is something that I notice more and more. It's like the pressure of the sexual conditioning that is a big, big shadow in today's world. It's like the moment we start breaking through, sex is no longer a shadow, it's no longer something that is a taboo. It's just like the most natural thing. It's like erotic energy. It's like self-pleasure. You go like, what did you, I just woke up and I self-pleasure for half an hour. It felt good. I had 3 orgasms. What toy did you use? I used a toy or I used my fingers. Then I went into the shower and I kept on singing, activating. You want to hear how I sound when I orgasm? And it's just like, why is it that all of that is not fully expressed all the time? That, we talk about sex magic as some isolated ritual. Okay, now we are in the lovemaking. Now we're going to do a sex magic ritual, like this big thing. But sex magic is there as a potential all the time. You wake up in the morning, your sexual fire is awake. It's being transmitted in all directions. It makes you magnetic. People are attracted to you. They go like, oh my God, it feels so nice to you. You feel so alive. You say, yeah, me too. Wow. It's just like, why this is not in a fully expressed all the time. It's just because we have been conditioned into a program where sex is being suppressed and, get into your head, think, learn fast, head. And now, after years, it's like, okay, somatic embodiment. We started rediscovering our connection with our emotions and sensations. And part of that is the erotic renewal, erotic awakening. It's expanding the pleasure capacity, and I think that it's something that we are moving towards that. Like, I feel that the more I move into that direction, the more it becomes part of the natural expression. And once it's very anchored and the guilt or the shame has been removed out of your field, much more. There might still be some of it in the background. Then it starts impacting the people around you, and then there is much more energetic and erotic emotional freedom. Like I feel in our tribes, it's much more liberated than before, and way less messy, It's not like, it feels like it's conscious, it's awake, it's aware. Everybody's like, we are becoming much more polysensual as well, right? We are like we know how to create deep moments of connections with people. And then moving all that into the lovemaking, into more sexual connection. It's so juicy. It's so much fun. As you can see over here, I have a whole list of things, of possibilities. We're not going to cover everything. There was erotic dance, orgasmic breath, erotic massage, remote sex, remote sex, sexting and fantasies, erotic energy activations of sex, microdosing sex, microdosing. Those are all like possibilities, right? But we're going to focus a little bit more on the orgasmic breath because this is the one that I feel is really a big breakthrough. And what we would do over here if we were in each other's presence, but it works also remotely, right? It is just to start by looking into each other's eyes, being present with that, and then we start moving into normal breathing, a little bit of more fire breath in that direction. So it would be like, and we can do it together. And so far it's not erotic, If I do that in a public place, everything is fine. But the moment we start sounding orgasmically, then it sounds like this. And it can become louder as well. So if you're watching this, I invite you to join us. And we're going to do that maybe for a minute, just to build it up a little bit. And now it's a sound, but we can shift to It can be O sound as well. Then we can accelerate as well. Let's go much faster. Anyway, we can keep on going, right? So just a quick check-in. What's happening in your brain right now in your system? What are you noticing? For me, I feel it in my brain. There is like tingles, and if we keep on going, there is going to be sensations in the fingers. So this was just 1 minute, right? Imagine that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's incredible. Yeah, this is like 1 minute, 30 seconds, and we didn't move into high intensity, but imagine that we do that for an hour. And we do that for an hour every day. And we don't go into penetrative sex, not even touch. We didn't touch. And right now, we activate limbic or energetic resonance, even though we are not in the same place. There is like, telepathic connection that is happening, even remotely. But if we are in presence of each other, that's, there is energetic resonance activated. But you can practice that by yourself as well. So train. Well, I would start with not touching each other, standing. Standing, that way you can move your body. Like you can give yourself the permission to just like move your body and feel how you can stretch. For instance, right now, if I stretch and I'm just moving fluidly, or I can also put tension in my body. The tension in the body is going to intensify. And then I can use different rhythm. And then hold the breath. So there is like about 20, 30 variations in the breathing. It's a whole picture and a whole set of energy that we can activate. But we should be masters at this. It should be like the really, really basic stuff. Because once we have that, then we bring touch. For instance, once we do that for a while and we're really good for it, then you can sit in Yabum, right? Come and sit on my lap, and then we do this practice again, but this time really breathing together. And when there is touch also, I could be behind you, for instance, holding your heart and stretching your shoulders. And we keep on breathing and activating. And, even if you're not lovers with somebody, not official lovers, it's still something that is within the range of what's possible. Sometimes we are in contact dance and the dance becomes very erotic. So just with the touch. So if you bring in the breathing and you bring in the sound, then your partner might be like, oh my God, what's happening to you? What did I do? I really like that. Let's go and find a room somewhere, right? Yeah. Let's breathe together. Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. Well, that's one way of doing it. I would say that in the beginning, keep it super simple. Just focus on the sound. Instead of having too many points of connection to think about, just like start and then you start modifying. Then one day you go like, okay, I'm going to focus a little bit more on feeling the tension. Sometimes you feel more on building up the fire. So the fire is going to be breathing it very fast, or you can breathe much more slowly. For instance, if you are in a more sensual and soft place, stretching the sound as well. Instead of being like, you go like, and you keep on stretching it, or you go into the orgasmic breathing, the full orgasmic breathing. It's just like all these variations are really, really juicy to practice. Just listen to the natural capacity of your body. It's like if you start feeling really lightheaded, it's either you lay down or sit down or do the practice sitting. But most of the times I just slow down, let my body integrate. Because if your body is not trained to circulate that amount of energy, then you have to train the body again. So when we do breathing techniques, I would say the first week it's a bit challenging. We're opening the channels. And then within a month, doing that for an hour becomes the easiest thing. And we build up. And then we relate to each other from a very different place. If we do this practice for an hour together and we never met before, man, it's just like we become soulmates, like instantly. We become true. Right? Guys, do you want more of this in your life? Say yes. Okay, so my name is Shiva Rajaya. You can find me on Instagram and on Facebook. And my website is vitalcoaching.com. Okay, there is tons of resources over there. So if you want to explore all that by yourself, you can do that. Otherwise, you can reach out for sessions. And but Instagram is a good place to start because I have lots of content over there. So it's Vital Coaching or Shiva Rajaya. You will find me there. And I think you will put a link somewhere as well, right? Yeah. Send me questions. Like, I love receiving your questions. And if there is a need, then we can always upgrade to having a session together. I can do remote sessions. We can do these practices, even if you're not in Bali right now. You are there. Just start moving energy. The simplest thing that you can do in the morning. Just start with that. Simple, small steps. Keep on learning, keep on expanding. Surround yourself with people who support that journey. It will be amazing. So you have to own your boundaries, okay? This is very important. Don't be penetrated if that doesn't feel right. And don't rush into penetration. I think that it's, as a general practice, I think it's a very healthy thing to just wait like a month before rushing into penetrative sex even with a new partner. If you feel the resonance, just wait. Let the energy build up, the romantic safety build up, let some of the shadows come to the surface. You don't want to have sex and then realize, oh my God, that was a mistake. Jaya. Jaya means Victoria. Jaya to the sky. I love you. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.